My name is Claire Davidson, and for 6 years, I've been the punchline of my brother's success story. Marcus Davidson, tech entrepreneur, Forbes 30 under 30, TechCrunch's innovator to watch, built his reputation on being brilliant, charismatic, and ruthlessly ambitious. His company, Marcus Tech Solutions, developed AI-driven supply chain optimization software for Fortune 500 companies. By the time he turned 32, MTS had landed contracts with 7 major corporations and was valued at $380 million. My parents thought he walked on water. My extended family thought he was a genius. The business press thought he was the next Elon Musk. And Marcus thought I was an idiot. Claire's trying the entrepreneur thing, he'd say at family dinners, his voice dripping with condescension. She has a little online consulting business. It's cute.
Cute.
That was his favorite word for me. What Marcus didn't know, what nobody in my family knew, was that my little online consulting business was Meridian Capital Partners, a venture capital firm I'd founded 4 years ago. We specialized in early and mid-stage investments in tech companies with scalable models and strong fundamentals. Our portfolio included 19 companies across 6 sectors. Our total assets under management, $890 million. My personal net worth, $47 million. And the anonymous investor who'd provided Marcus Tech Solutions with $120 million in Series C funding 2 years ago, saving the company from a catastrophic cash flow crisis? That was me. I'd invested in my brother's company through a web of shell corporations and intermediary firms specifically designed to hide my identity. Not because I was trying to be secretive for fun. Because I wanted to see if Marcus could succeed on merit without knowing his little sister was the one keeping him afloat. Also, I wanted to see how long it would take for him to treat me like a human being instead of a failure. 6 years. That's how long I waited.
And he never changed.
Growing up, Marcus was the golden child in every possible way. He was 3 years older than me, naturally gifted at everything he tried. Top of his class. Captain of the debate team. Full scholarship to MIT. He graduated with a degree in computer science and business, and by 25, he'd already sold his first startup for $8 million. I was the weird one. I liked numbers, but not in the flashy way Marcus did. I liked patterns, risk assessment, understanding why some investments succeeded and others failed. While Marcus was giving TED Talks about disrupting industries, I was reading SEC filings and analyzing balance sheets in my bedroom. I went to a state school, got a degree in finance, started working as a junior analyst at a mid-sized investment firm making $52,000 a year. Marcus made more than that in a week by the time I graduated. At family gatherings, the dynamic was clear. Marcus held court, talking about his latest funding round or his meetings with venture capitalists. Everyone listened, fascinated. When I tried to contribute to conversations about finance or investing, Marcus would smile indulgently. Claire's learning about the industry. It's good that she's interested. Like I was a child asking about grown-up things. My parents never questioned it. Marcus understands business, Mom would say. He's been successful. You should listen to him, Claire. So I stopped talking. I listened instead. And I learned. By the time I was 26, I'd saved $180,000 from my salary and aggressive budgeting. I took that money and made my first private investment, $50,000 in a small logistics software company that nobody had heard of. 18 months later, that company was acquired for $34 million. My stake was worth $2.8 million. I quit my job and started Meridian Capital Partners. For the first 2 years, I worked alone from my 1-bedroom apartment. I made investments carefully, methodically. I focused on companies with solid fundamentals that were overlooked by flashier VCs chasing unicorns. A cybersecurity startup. A healthcare data analytics platform. A sustainable packaging manufacturer. Most VCs wouldn't look twice at these companies. Too boring. Too slow. Not sexy enough. But they made money. By year 3, my portfolio was worth $24 million. I hired my first employee, Daniel, a forensic accountant who'd worked fraud cases for the FBI. I needed someone who could dig deep into company financials and spot problems before they became disasters. By year 4, I'd raised my first external fund, $180 million from a group of family offices and high-net-worth individuals who valued my steady, unsexy approach to returns. That's when Marcus came back into my life in a new way. It was Thanksgiving, and he was talking about MTS Series C fundraising round. We're raising $150 million, he announced proudly. We've got interest from 3 major firms. This is going to put us on the map. I watched him across the table, so confident, so certain. What I knew, because Daniel had flagged it during his regular market analysis, was that Marcus Tech Solutions was in trouble. Their burn rate was catastrophic. They'd overhired by 40%. Their two biggest clients were quietly negotiating out of their contracts due to software performance issues. MTS needed that $150 million not to grow. They needed it to survive. And from what Daniel had found, none of those three major firms were actually going to invest. They'd done their due diligence and quietly backed away. Marcus was 3 months from bankruptcy, and he had no idea. I went home that night and ran the numbers. MTS had good core technology. The supply chain optimization software was genuinely innovative. But Marcus was a terrible operator. He spent money like it was infinite, hired people for prestige instead of productivity, and made strategic decisions based on ego rather than data. But the technology was solid. And with the right oversight, MTS could be worth $2 billion in 5 years. I made a decision. I structured an investment through 3 layers of shell companies. Meridian Capital invested in Apex Holdings. Apex Holdings invested in Summit Ventures. Summit Ventures invested $120 million in Marcus Tech Solutions as their anonymous Series C lead investor. Marcus never knew it was me. I installed 2 people on his board as part of the investment terms. Sarah Chun, a COO who'd scaled 4 companies from $50 million to $500 million plus. And Robert Martinez, a CFO who specialized in turning around companies with burn rate problems. Between Sarah and Robert, they quietly fixed MTS operational disasters. They cut the burn rate by 60%. They renegotiated the client contracts. They restructured the company from the ground up. Within 18 months, MTS was actually profitable. Marcus, of course, took full credit. I turned this company around, he told Forbes in an interview. I made the hard decisions to cut costs and focus on what matters. He had no idea that every hard decision had been handed to him by the 2 board members I'd installed. And I didn't tell him. I wanted to see if success would change him. If becoming genuinely successful, not just successful because I was secretly bankrolling him, would make him humble, make him kind. It didn't. While Marcus was giving interviews about his turnaround genius, I was quietly building an empire he couldn't imagine. Meridian Capital Partners grew. By year 5, we were managing $620 million across 23 portfolio companies. Our returns were consistently outperforming the market by 18 to 24%. We became the firm that other firms called when they needed due diligence done right. I hired 12 more employees, analysts, associates, partners who shared my philosophy. Boring wins. Steady wins. Sustainable wins. We weren't chasing unicorns. We were building a portfolio of companies that would still exist in 20 years. My personal net worth crossed $40 million. I bought a penthouse in the city. I drove a Tesla Model S. I wore Tom Ford suits to investor meetings. But when I went to family dinners, I drove my old Honda. I wore jeans and sweaters from Target. I let Marcus talk about his success while I smiled and nodded. I was conducting an experiment. How long would it take for my family to notice that something had changed? To ask questions? To wonder how I could afford my lifestyle on what they assumed was a struggling online consulting business? The answer: they never noticed.
They saw what they expected to see.
Marcus was successful. Claire was still figuring things out. At Christmas last year, my aunt asked me, "So, Claire, are you still doing that online thing?" "Yes," I said simply. "That's nice, honey. It's good to have hobbies." Hobbies. My $47 million hobby. Marcus overheard and jumped in. "Claire's very dedicated. She works hard at it. I keep telling her she should come work for MTS, but she's attached to her independence." He said it like I was a child refusing to accept help. I smiled. "I like what I do." "Of course you do," he said generously. "It's good to have passion projects." That was 6 months ago. The breaking point came at Marcus's quarterly investor meeting. He'd invited the whole family. "Come see what real business looks like," he'd said to me with a grin. "Might give you some ideas for your consulting thing."
I almost said no.
But something made me go. Maybe curiosity. Maybe I wanted to see if he'd finally grown up. The meeting was held in MTS glass-walled conference room downtown. 70 people packed in, investors, board members, executives, and random family members like me, sitting in the back. Marcus was in his element. He stood at the front with a clicker, walking through slides about growth projections and market expansion. He was charismatic, confident, commanding. "We've tripled our revenue in 18 months, he announced. "We've gone from hemorrhaging cash to profitability. We've expanded from 2 clients to 7 major Fortune 500 contracts. Everyone applauded. And we did this, Marcus continued, by making smart, disciplined decisions. By focusing on fundamentals. By building a team that executes. I caught Sarah Chen's eye across the room. She gave me the tiniest smile. She knew the truth. She and Robert had made those decisions.
Marcus had just signed off on them.
The presentation continued. Growth charts. Revenue projections. Market analysis. Then came Q&A. An investor raised his hand. Marcus, you've mentioned your family's support several times. How has that played into your success? Marcus smiled. My family has been incredible. My parents believed in me from the beginning. They taught me to think big, to take risks, to never settle. He gestured toward where Mom and Dad sat in the front row. And my sister Claire is here today too. He pointed at me in the back. Claire's trying the entrepreneur thing herself. She has a little online consulting business. It's cute. A few people chuckled. I keep telling her she should come work for a real company, Marcus continued, but she's stubborn. She wants to figure things out on her own. More laughter. Claire's financially clueless, he said with a grin, like he was sharing an inside joke. She doesn't understand how venture capital works, how to scale a business, any of it. But she's learning. And that's what matters. The room laughed appreciatively. Look at the supportive big brother, gently teasing his struggling little sister. I sat in my chair, perfectly still. My sister plays entrepreneur online, Marcus said, winding up with a punchline. But maybe someday she'll build something real. The room erupted in laughter. I nodded quietly. Understood. Nobody noticed. They were all focused on Marcus, who'd already moved on to the next question. I sat through the rest of the meeting. 90 more minutes of Marcus taking credit for work other people had done, bragging about a company that only existed because I'd saved it. When it ended, people mingled. Marcus worked the room like a politician. Investors shook his hand. Family members congratulated him. I walked out without saying goodbye to anyone. I got in my car, drove to my office, and sat at my desk. Then I opened my laptop and typed an email to Daniel, my forensic accountant. Subject: MTS investment withdrawal. Daniel, prepare immediate withdrawal documentation for the Summit Ventures investment in Marcus Tech Solutions. Total amount: $120 million principal plus accrued returns. I want full liquidation of our position. Timeline: 48 hours. Get our lawyers on notice for the board meeting. Claire. I hit send. Then I called Sarah Chen directly. Sarah, it's Claire. Hey, I saw you at the meeting. That was quite a performance for Marcus. It was interesting, I said neutrally. Sarah, I'm withdrawing my investment. All of it. 48 hours. Silence on the other end. Claire, Sarah said carefully, you own 31% of the company. If you pull out, MTS collapses. The other investors will panic. The clients will hear about it and reconsider their contracts. The company will be functionally bankrupt within a week. I know. Is this about what he said in the meeting? This is about 6 years of him treating me like I'm worthless, while I've been the one keeping him alive. Another silence. I understand, Sarah said quietly. I'll prepare my resignation. Robert will too. We only took these positions because you asked us to. If you're done, we're done. Thank you, Sarah. For what it's worth, she said, he had this coming. I hung up. Monday morning, Daniel sent the withdrawal notice to MTS CFO and board of directors. As the Series C lead investor, Summit Ventures had the contractual right to withdraw capital if certain performance metrics weren't met. And thanks to some very carefully worded clauses I'd insisted on, public misrepresentation of company stakeholders qualified as a breach. Marcus calling me financially clueless in a public investor meeting? That was misrepresentation of a stakeholder. 48 hours. That's how long Marcus had before his company imploded. I didn't hear anything for the first 24 hours. I knew what was happening behind the scenes. Daniel had sent me updates every 6 hours. Hour 1 to 6. MTS CFO received the withdrawal notice and immediately called an emergency board meeting. Hour 6 to 12. The board convened. Sarah and Robert explained the situation. Summit Ventures was withdrawing $120 million. Immediately. Hour 12 to 18. The CFO ran the numbers. Without that $120 million in capital, MTS had 4 weeks of runway. Maybe 6 if they cut every non-essential expense. Hour 18 to 24. The board began panic calls to other investors trying to arrange emergency bridge funding. Nobody was interested. When a lead investor pulls out of a company suddenly, it's a massive red flag. Other investors assume you know something they don't. They don't invest more. They start looking for exits. By hour 36, 3 of MTS' other investors had sent letters of intent to withdraw their capital as well. By hour 42, one of MTS' 7 Fortune 500 clients had paused their contract pending review of vendor stability. By hour 47, Marcus finally called me. I was in my office when my phone rang. His name appeared on the screen. I let it ring 4 times before answering. Hello. Claire. His voice was strained. We need to talk. About what? About, he paused. Claire, something's happening with my company. Our lead investor is withdrawing. I don't understand what's going on, but I need your help. My help? I kept my voice neutral. Marcus, I'm financially clueless, remember? I play entrepreneur online. How could I possibly help? Silence. Claire, this isn't the time for what? For jokes? You joked about me in front of 70 investors. I'm just following your lead. I didn't mean anything by that, he said desperately. It was just banter. You know how these things are. I don't go to many investor meetings. My little online consulting business doesn't have them. Claire, please. I need you to be serious right now. My company is in crisis. Investors are pulling out. Clients are getting nervous. I need to talk to someone I can trust.
Talk to Mom and Dad, I said.
They believe in you, remember? That's what you said in your presentation. They don't understand business like, he stopped himself. Like what, Marcus? Like you do? Because from where I'm sitting, your business is collapsing and you don't seem to understand why. That's not fair. You're right, I said. Fair would be if I'd pulled my investment 4 years ago when I first realized you were driving the company into the ground. Silence. Then, what are you talking about? I'm talking about the fact that Summit Ventures isn't some anonymous investor group, Marcus. Summit Ventures is owned by Apex Holdings. Apex Holdings is owned by Meridian Capital Partners. I let that sink in. Meridian Capital Partners is my company. I'm the anonymous investor who gave you $120 million. I'm the one who saved your company from bankruptcy. And I'm the one who's pulling out. The silence on the other end was so complete, I thought the call had dropped. You. His voice was barely a whisper.
Me.
The financially clueless sister who plays entrepreneur online. That's not possible. You don't have that kind of money. I have $47 million actually. And Meridian manages $890 million in assets. We're the boring VC firm that nobody writes about because we're too focused on making money instead of getting press coverage.
Jesus Christ, Marcus Briated.
You've had this kind of money and you never said anything? Why would I? So you could mock me at family dinners with better information? So you could take credit for my success the way you've taken credit for everything else in your life? I never. You've spent 6 years treating me like I'm stupid. I interrupted. 6 years of dismissing me, belittling me, using me as the punchline to your success story. Did you know Mom asked me if consulting was my hobby? A hobby, Marcus. I didn't know. Because you never asked. In 6 years, you've never once asked me about my business, about my life, about anything that matters to me. He was quiet for a long moment.
Claire, I'm sorry. I'm really sorry.
I didn't realize. You're not sorry, Marcus. You're scared. There's a difference. That's not true. I'm sorry I hurt you. I'm sorry I didn't take you seriously. But please, you can't destroy my company over this. There are 380 employees who'll lose their jobs. There are clients depending on us. There are other investors. Other investors who are already withdrawing because they're smart enough to see that without my capital, MTS is worthless. And those 380 employees? They're talented people who will find better jobs at companies with competent leadership. Claire, please. The desperation in his voice was striking. This was a Marcus I'd never heard before. I have a meeting in 5 minutes, I said. But my CFO is scheduled to meet with your board on Thursday to finalize the withdrawal. I suggest you spend the next 48 hours figuring out how you're going to explain to Forbes why the company they profiled is suddenly filing for bankruptcy.
Wait.
Don't hang up. What if there's a way to fix this? There isn't. What if I apologize? Publicly? What if I tell everyone the truth about who you are? I almost laughed. You think I want credit, Marcus? I don't need credit. I need you to understand that actions have consequences. Then what do you want? I thought about that question. What did I want? I want you to know what it feels like. I said finally. I want you to know what it feels like to work hard, to build something real, to succeed, and then have someone you love treat you like you're worthless. Claire. 48 hours, Marcus. That's how long you have before your company dies. I hung up. 30 seconds later, he called back. I declined the call. He called 6 more times over the next hour. I declined them all. Then my phone exploded with texts. Marcus. Claire, please, we need to talk, Marcus. I'll do whatever it takes, Marcus. Name your terms, Marcus. I'm begging you. I turned off my phone and went to dinner with my partners. Thursday morning, I walked into Marcus Tech Solutions for the first time ever. The office was chaos. People were crying at desks. Executives were rushing between conference rooms. The receptionist barely looked up when I gave my name. Conference room C, she said automatically. 3rd floor. I took the elevator up. Daniel was already there, along with our legal team, 3 attorneys from Portland and Associates, the firm we used for complex negotiations. Sarah Chin was there too, looking tired. Robert Martinez sat next to her, reviewing documents. And at the head of the table was Marcus. He looked terrible. His hair was disheveled. His eyes were bloodshot. He was wearing the same shirt he'd worn in the investor meeting 3 days ago. Claire, he said when I walked in. Just that. My name. I sat down across from him. Let's get started, I said to Daniel. Daniel opened his laptop. As outlined in the withdrawal notice, Meridian Capital Partners, through its subsidiary entities, is exercising its contractual right to withdraw $120 million in invested capital from Marcus Tech Solutions, plus accrued returns of $18.4 million, for a total withdrawal of $138.4 million. He pulled up a document on the screen. MTS's current liquid assets total $31.2 million. Current liabilities total $87.6 million. Without the Meridian capital, MTS has insufficient assets to meet its obligations. He showed the next slide. Additionally, as of this morning, 3 other investors, Redwood Ventures, Summit Capital, and Tech Forward Investments, have filed notices of intent to withdraw their combined $43 million in capital. Marcus's face was gray. This brings total investment withdrawal to $181.4 million. MTS will be functionally insolvent by close of business tomorrow. Robert Martinez spoke up. We've contacted every possible bridge lender and emergency investor. Nobody's interested in a company whose lead investor is withdrawing. Sarah added quietly, we've also received notification from 2 clients, Brennan Industries and Core Logistics, that they're terminating their contracts pending review. That's $34 million in annual recurring revenue gone. Marcus looked at me.
Claire, please.
There has to be something we can do. I leaned back in my chair. Tell me, Marcus, what exactly do you think you bring to this company? What? I'm serious. What do you do? What value do you add? I'm the CEO. I built this company. You built software? I interrupted. 6 years ago, you built good software. And then you raised money, hired too many people, spent wildly, and nearly bankrupted the company before I stepped in. I pulled out a folder. Do you know what Sarah and Robert have been doing for the past 2 years? He looked at them, confused. They've been running your company, I said flatly. Every cost-cutting measure, every strategic decision, every client negotiation. That was them. They report to me, Marcus. Not to you. His face went pale. You've been controlling my company? I've been saving your company, I corrected. Over and over again. Because you're a terrible operator who makes decisions based on ego instead of data. I opened the folder and started pulling out documents. March 2022, you wanted to hire 50 new engineers to build a blockchain integration that no client had asked for. Sarah killed it. You never knew. Another document. July 2022, you approved $2.8 million in marketing spend for a Super Bowl ad. Robert cut the budget to $400,000 for targeted digital campaigns. You thought you made that decision. Another. January 2023, you were about to commit to a $40 million office expansion. Sarah renegotiated to a smaller space and saved $31 million. You signed off thinking it was your idea. I kept going. Document after document. Decision after decision. For 2 years, I've been puppeteering your success through Sarah and Robert. Every smart decision MTS has made was actually my decision. Every disaster you avoided was because I stopped you from making catastrophically stupid choices. Marcus stared at the papers spread across the table. And you never noticed, I continued, because you were too busy taking credit, too busy giving interviews, too busy telling everyone how you turned the company around. I didn't know, he whispered. Of course you didn't know, because you never looked beneath the surface. You never questioned why suddenly all your impulsive ideas were being refined into better plans. You just assumed you'd gotten smarter. I stood up. But here's the thing, Marcus. The company didn't get better because of you. It got better in spite of you. And now I'm done propping you up. Claire, please.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
I know I was terrible to you. I know I was dismissive and condescending and all of it. But please don't destroy everything because of that. I'm not destroying anything, I said calmly. I'm withdrawing my investment from a company with poor leadership. That's what any smart investor would do. What if I step down? The words tumbled out desperately. What if I resign as CEO? You can bring in someone else. Someone better. Just don't pull the funding. I looked at him for a long moment. Who would you suggest? I don't know. You probably have someone in mind. Someone who actually knows what they're doing. Someone who's not financially clueless? I asked. He flinched. Marcus, I'm going to tell you something, and I want you to really hear it. The problem isn't that you're a bad CEO. The problem is that you're a bad person to me. You had 6 years to treat me with basic respect.
6 years to ask about my life.
6 years to see me as something other than a failure you could feel superior to. I know. And I'm going to change. I swear I'll change. You're going to change because your company is collapsing, I said. Not because you actually care about how you treated me. And that's not good enough. I nodded to Daniel. Process the withdrawal. Wait. Marcus stood up. What if I give you the company? Everyone in the room looked at him. What if I give you majority ownership? He continued frantically. You said I'm a bad operator. Fine. Take over. Run it however you want. I'll work for you. I'll do whatever you say. Just don't let it die. I studied him. He meant it. In this moment, backed into a corner. He genuinely meant it. How much ownership? I asked. Majority. 51%. No, 60%. Whatever you want. I looked at Sarah. She raised an eyebrow, curious. I looked at Robert. He was already running calculations in his head. 73%. I said. Done. With full operational control. You remain as CEO in title only. Every decision goes through me. Yes. Fine. Whatever you need. And you make a public statement explaining that I've been your lead investor for 2 years and that I'm now taking an active role in company management. He swallowed hard. You want me to tell everyone you were the anonymous investor? I want you to tell everyone the truth, Marcus. That your little sister with her cute online business has been keeping your company alive while you took credit for her work. The room was silent. Okay, he said finally. Okay, I'll do it. I looked at our attorneys. Draft the paperwork. I want 73% ownership transferred to Meridian Capital Partners with full operational control. Marcus remains as CEO, but all strategic decisions require my approval. Board restructuring to include 3 seats controlled by Meridian. I turned back to Marcus. And one more thing. You're taking a salary cut. $180,000 a year, same as what I made when I started in this industry. You can earn your way back up. His jaw clenched, but he nodded. Fine. Sarah, Robert, I'm promoting you both. Sarah, you're now president of operations with a compensation package worth $450,000. Robert, you're CFO with the same. You'll report directly to me. They both smiled. And Marcus, I said, if you ever publicly dismiss me or anyone else on my team again, I will destroy everything you have left. Are we clear? Crystal clear. Good. Daniel, prepare the paperwork. I want this finalized by end of business today. I picked up my bag and walked toward the door. Claire, Marcus called. Thank you for not letting it die. I paused at the door. I didn't do this for you, Marcus. I did it for the 380 employees who actually do good work. And because the technology is valuable, even if you aren't. I left. The news broke the next day. TechCrunch. Marcus Tech Solutions undergoes dramatic restructuring. Founder's sister revealed as major investor. Forbes. The silent backer. How Claire Davidson built a $890 million VC firm while her brother took credit. Business Insider. Family drama in Silicon Valley. The investor who saved her brother's company, then took it over. The articles were brutal. Journalists had done their research. They'd found my track record at Meridian. They'd interviewed other founders I'd backed. They'd calculated the returns. And they'd asked Marcus directly, did you know your sister was this successful? His answer, printed in Forbes, no. I'm ashamed to say I never asked. I assumed she was struggling, and I treated her accordingly. I'm grateful she saved my company, but more than that, I'm sorry I never saw her clearly. It wasn't much, but it was honest. The restructuring happened fast. I installed myself as executive chairwoman. Sarah and Robert took over day-to-day operations. Marcus kept his CEO title, but he was essentially a figurehead, managing relationships with existing clients while Sarah and Robert made all real decisions. Within 3 months, we'd stabilized the company. The panicked investors came back. The clients renewed their contracts. We closed a new $40 million Series D round at a $520 million valuation. Within 6 months, MTS was thriving again. And Marcus was learning what it meant to work for someone else. To have his ideas questioned. To be told no when he wanted to make impulsive decisions. He was learning what I'd known all along. Success isn't about being the smartest person in the room. It's about being smart enough to listen to people who know more than you. 8 months after the confrontation, I got a call from Marcus. Claire, do you have a minute? I have a meeting in 20. This won't take long. I wanted to ask if you'd have dinner with me. Not a business dinner. Just siblings. I was quiet for a moment. Why? Because I've spent 8 months working for you, and I'm realizing I don't actually know you. I don't know what you like, what you care about outside of work, what you do on weekends. And I want to know, not because I have to, because I want to. That's a nice speech, Marcus. It's not a speech. Claire, I've been going to therapy, working through a lot of things. And one of the things I'm learning is that I've spent my whole life needing to be the best at everything. And when you were good at things, I couldn't handle it. So I dismissed you, made you small in my head, so I could feel big. He paused. That was cruel and wrong. And I'm sorry. Really sorry. Not because you're my boss now, but because you're my sister and you deserved better. I stared at my office wall, processing. One dinner, I said finally. We'll see how it goes. Thank you. We met at a small Italian restaurant the following week. Neutral territory. No business talk allowed. Marcus arrived early. He stood when I walked in, pulled out my chair. We ordered food. And then, for the first time in my adult life, Marcus asked me questions. What made you want to start a VC firm? What's your investment philosophy? What do you like about the work? What's the hardest part? He listened. Actually listened. Didn't interrupt with stories about himself. Didn't try to one-up my experiences. Just listened. At the end of dinner, he paid the bill. I know you're wealthier than me now, he said with a small smile. But let me get this one. Okay. We walked out together. Claire, he said as we reached my car, I know I can't undo 6 years of being terrible. But I'm going to try to do better. Not just at work. At being your brother. That would be nice, I said simply. And for what it's worth, I'm proud of you. I should have said that years ago. But I'm proud of what you built. And I'm grateful you gave me a second chance. I looked at him. He meant it. I could see it in his eyes. Thanks, Marcus. I drove home thinking about second chances. About whether people really change or just adapt to new circumstances. I didn't have an answer. But I was willing to find out. 2 years later, Marcus Tech Solutions went public at a $1.8 billion valuation. My 73% stake was worth $1.314 billion. Marcus's remaining stake was worth $234 million. At the opening bell ceremony at NASDAQ, Marcus insisted I stand next to him. This is Claire Davidson, he told the cameras. My sister, our executive chairwoman, and the reason this company exists. She saved MTS when I was running it into the ground, and she's been the real leader here ever since. It was probably the most honest thing he'd ever said in public. After the ceremony, Mom and Dad pulled me aside. We had no idea, Mom said, tears in her eyes. All those years, we thought you were struggling. Why didn't you tell us? I wanted you to ask, I said simply. I wanted you to see me. Dad hugged me. We see you now, sweetheart. We're so proud. Thanks, Dad. It was enough. Not everything, but enough. Marcus and I have dinner once a month now. Real dinners. Sibling dinners. We talk about books and movies and politics. We argue about investments. He asks for my advice on company strategy, and sometimes I ask for his perspective on technical decisions. We're not best friends. We might never be. But we're siblings. Real siblings. And that's worth more than $1.3 billion. Though I'll admit, the $1.3 billion doesn't hurt.